And thank you for joining us here on PM Express. And tonight we are looking at the situation in the Volta region, the Volta floods, hot unprepared. And we're talking about the Volta floods, not necessarily relating to what is happening in the Volta region, but what is happening across the entire length of the Volta River, black, white Volta, all the way down south. We've seen the situation that we have been talking about the last few days with the Akosombo Dam spillage. But if you go up north, you see the national picture beginning to emerge. This is affecting communities up north all the way down south as well. This is a national emergency indeed. Some have described this tonight. There is a significant number of people, including organizations, piling pressure on the government to declare a state of emergency in the areas affected. Now, one of the key areas that we are looking at is along the Volta Lake, as you see here, because as you notice, that Volta Lake stretches all the way up north and coming down. These red areas here, as you see, are the areas where we've dammed it for hydroelectric power generation. You recall a few weeks back, there was a lot of reports that we were receiving that the Bui Dam itself may have been spilled, causing floods. The Bui authority said that wasn't true. Now we're learning that it may be as a result of the Volta Lake itself, which was gradually beginning to fill up and overflowing its banks and causing the flooding that we saw up around that area. And then you see it all the way down to Akosombo, which is what you see here, and then the Kpon Dam. Now, the challenge that we are seeing in the Volta region and the areas worst affected by the flooding that we've seen over the last few days is because once you spill this area here with Akosombo Dam, you have a situation where the water that is being spilled in excess of water that is being spilled, that is flooding the area that you see between Akosombo and also the Kpon Dam area. That is a big challenge indeed. For NADMO and others currently working to try and deal with this particular problem. And if you isolate the picture a bit, you begin to see the challenge I'm talking about. This is your Atlantic Ocean here. And so all these communities that you find in this particular area are those that have been affected by the floods. But as I've been saying, you're seeing the challenge all the way up north. And I want to close this a bit more because you begin to see as it flows from the north in, the heavy rains, persistent rains that we've seen in the northern territories, way beyond Ghana, in Burkina Faso and other areas, is flowing down all the way down into the Volta, and it's creating the problems that we've seen. Now, one of the key things that we are also learning on this particular issue is the particular communities also affected by this particular situation. Not necessarily what we've been reporting. The focus has been here, and rightly so. And tonight we spend a bit more time there. But if you look at the Black Volta itself, as it meanders and joins the Volta Lake as we know it right now, itself also has its own challenges. Because we've seen more than usual rainfall, today the Met Office say what we are actually witnessing in terms of the rains is normal for this time of year. That is actually interesting because the last time we saw this level of spillage in Akosombo Dam is 2010. That's quite some time back. 2010, it was almost 13 years since we saw this level of spillage. But the Met Office say what we're experiencing right now in terms of the rains that we're witnessing at this time is normal. But as the VRA, they tell you that they are also experiencing unusual amounts of water, all flowing into the Volta Lake and getting stuck behind the dam walls, which needs to be spilled. We're talking about a maximum operating capacity of 277.5 feet. They have reached that point and they must spill. Other than that, we're going to have a situation where the dam itself is breached, and that can have catastrophic consequences. So that is the picture, or the national picture, when it comes to the areas that we're seeing affected. And if you drill down a bit more, you see along the Volta, as I've been talking about, the communities affected. You have the Volta Lake here, and then you begin to see the picture emerge of the central Gonja area, which we know is also experiencing flooding, and they've been experiencing flooding for the last few weeks, right? So whereas we're focusing a bit here, If you go to Central Gonja, we talked to the DCE there, they have been dealing with this problem along the Volta, right? And then you also look at Pru East. Pru East also has the same challenge. They've also, way before we started reporting the situation here in the Volta area and downstream of the Akosomo Dam, we're reporting flooding affecting homes and sweeping property and livelihoods away. The member of parliament for the area, who's also a former power minister, Dr. Kwabena Donko, has been saying that they have been neglected because obviously, compared to what we're seeing down south and the devastation and our ability to cover this, because it's very close to us, is obviously brought the gravity of the situation to light. But we haven't focused much here. And I want to give the national picture as we focus and zoom in on what is happening here so that we appreciate what we are talking about. This is a national issue right now. Why do we say that? We had a Navy yesterday actually confirm that it had to rescue about 8,000 people across the length of the Volta Lake, as I've just been illustrating to you. And then you also have Pru West. So you have Pru East, you have Pru West, all of them affected by the flooding. So you see the flooding here, you see the flooding here, that deep blue is flooding as we've been tracking over the last few days. And then you see the Central Gonja area flooding also there. So there's something unusual happening along the banks of the Volta. Indeed, that is something that we need to be focusing on. But then you come to the area where we've been talking about quite a lot in the last few days. I'm talking about the North Tong area, downstream of the Akosomo Dam itself. North Tong has been hit quite severely. We'll be talking to Samuel Okoye-Ablakwa, who today is grateful that many religious organizations are coming to the aid of the people there. He talks about some 10,000 people affected in areas like, as we said, like Mepe, for example, in his constituencies. Then we have also German, also affected by the situation downstream of the Volta Lake, downstream of the Akosomo Dam following the spillage. You have the Central Tong district also. You have the South Tong. You also have the Shayo Sudoku area affected by this. You have the Adan East area affected by the situation, and Anglogan also affected. As you see on your screens there, that is the Volta Lake and this path there. So you're beginning to see a situation where that path that you see, the Volta Lake, that path, the communities along the stretch, they rely on the Volta Lake for the agriculture, for the aquaculture, but they are beginning to see, following the spillage of the Akosomo Dam, that the waters have now become very destructive. The entire communities have been submerged and swept away. That's how bad the situation is in that part of the Volta region. And I want to focus a bit more on Mepe for you because that's one of the areas that has been hit. But why is Mepe so hit? Now, if you look at how the water there meanders when it gets to Mepe, you see why that area is taking the full force of the floods following the spillage, because the water have to meander a bit more. There isn't a direct flow as you have, for example, right after Mepe. So you see this area here. You see how the water here comes in here and almost needs to do a climb before it descends into the ocean. So the force with which the water can move in is slowed. So you have an accumulation of water, and also because of the force of which the water is now pouring in after the spillage, it then gathers here and then spills over into communities. That's why this whole area here, we marked it red. And also because of the meandering. And as we saw on that screen, the live Google Earth image gives you a sense of why Mepe is a focus there. And that's what you see there, that meandering, that's there. You see that the huge size of the lake when it gets, the width is wider because the water is having to meander a bit more compared to the other areas, and is then spilling over into the areas and affecting people. That is a reason why we're seeing Mepe quite affected. It comes all the way down to a bigger dam, for example, just when it enters the estuary. This is so bad that the estuary itself, where the lake is supposed to enter into the ocean, is now sending the water back up into the community. So you're having a situation, this should go this way, right? But it's going back up. It is quite a very fascinating situation we're witnessing, and many communities are beginning to take the full brunt of this. And NADMO gives us the numbers, and we're going to pour over those numbers pretty shortly. And you see here again, just to illustrate the point for you, this is where we're looking at now in this particular territory here, because of that meandering nature of the water causing a bit of damage in that part of North Tongue. And then these are the numbers here, huge numbers. 26,000 people displaced, and this may be conservative estimates, according to NATMO, by the way. NATMO itself giving us a picture. This is the Aqua Safari area and its environs you see on your screens there, and that area has also been overtaken by the flood waters in that particular part of the country. But these numbers are startling. Only 6,000 of them have been evacuated and settled. 20,000 people have been left to go into friends and other relatives, and they obviously have been left with very little relief. And so we get a lot of the complaints from that group of people. So this is an emergency, and there's pressure tonight on the government to declare a state of emergency in the areas affected. And we've seen Christian bodies like the Assemblies of God Church Ghana making that call tonight. We also know, as of tonight, the Interministerial Committee set up to coordinate the relief effort have been meeting. We've been told to expect a major announcement by the Interministerial Committee coordinating the relief efforts, and that may include a formal declaration of a state of emergency in the areas affected, the areas that I've been talking about. Maybe, for example, once that happens, it triggers the release of resources. It triggers the release of massive national resources, the commandeering of extraordinary budget, focusing in this area and getting the attention. Then also, you hear from Okuye Toblaka shortly that his partners and the diplomatic community are looking and waiting for that declaration so they can also trigger the release of donor help for the people there. So that is important when you're watching this. And I've told you about the history of this. 2010, 2013, 13-year gap is the last time they have to spill this much, 11 spillage. But so this tells you the story. And we'll be getting a picture from the VRA, how I compare this to that, because we didn't hear as much of devastation in 2010 as compared to what we're hearing now. Is it because there's more coverage? But that's something that we're gonna pour into. But this is the story of the real numbers, why the VRA is spilling. And many people have asked the question, why? Because look, they have to maximum operating capacity according to their own website is 277.5 feet. As of this is 2022, by the way, 2022 same period, right? As of 15th October, they were at 271, so they were below that maximum operating level, and so nothing happened last year. But we're talking about now where they are in 277 feet, just around that, and sometimes threatening to go over this. If they don't try and deal with this, what's going to happen is that you may breach the dam, and that could be very devastating indeed, even far worse than what we're experiencing currently. If you look at the actual numbers here, you look at the 15th September, they started spilling this. At that time, they were at 272.5 feet at the time. As of 15th October 2023, this is still climbing, right? But in the last few days, it's been dropping. It's been dropping because there's been consistent spillage. But here's the bad news. Tonight, Met Office says, expect more rains. Now, expect more rains means you're going to have the reservoir fill up a bit more, which means you expect VRA to spill even more. It may even be spilling more than they have over the last few days. That is the danger. And so, key question. Now that we know that forecast, what else are state agencies doing to prepare for the next 1 month? Because now the net says expect more rains to come. So VRA will have to spill much more. So, key question, caught unprepared? It appears so, right? So what lessons are we learning? But what's the situation tonight? Do those currently still in the flood waters, what help are they getting? The president went there yesterday. Has anything changed since he was there? And how close are we to declaration of a state of emergency? My guess after this. And PM Express is always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. It is strong, it is tough. Halomo Bitters experience greatness in every moment. Ghana AIDS Commission as well. And the Syntex Tanks is one that you always can count on, no matter your water needs. Syntex Tanks is first to introduce a double-layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex Tanks is first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana. And we now introduce you to the customer specs order, which lets you order any color and size of preference. Syntex Tanks gives you the longest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you in Ghana. So whatever your water consumption, size of project or demand, choose Syntex Tank. We have agents nationwide. Call them on 0244 335 168 or shop online at syntexgh.com. You're stronger, you're tough. My guest joining me tonight is Samuel Okudita Blakwa, who is in the thick of the action, trying to coordinate the relief for his people in the Northern constituency. Samuel Okudita Blakwa, thank you very much for your time here on PMX. I know it's been a very, very busy day for you. It's also been a very, very busy day for the Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Letcher, who has been at the forefront of also trying to bring relief to his people. And I want to quickly start with the very latest on the Interministerial Committee meeting that Dr. Archibald Letcher, you told me about on Top Story around 5:30. I wonder if you've heard any news from that meeting and what decisions may have been taken. Hello, Mr. Letcher, if you can unmute for me, please.
Hello, Evans.
Yes, sir. Thanks, and I can hear you. Yes, I was hoping you could give me the very latest, if you have any information on that meeting of your colleagues in Interministerial Committee, if any decisions have been taken yet.
Oh, sorry, Evans. We are on the ground. We cannot leave the region for any meeting in Accra now. So we are yet to hear something from them. But we expect to hear something from them tonight.
Okay, good. I want to go to Samuel Okudita Blakwa. Mr. Blakwa, today has been a very busy day for you as well. Thankfully, you are getting some help coming in from all quarters. Give us a sense of the help you're getting and how much of a difference it's making to your people.
Confirm that today we have been recipients of the generosity of Ghanaians. The Tanker Owners Union were here in the morning and made a very impressive donation, followed by KBG Foundation. And this evening, the Christian Council came in with another generous donation. These donations, which are largely food items, will go a very, very long way. Remember that livelihoods have been destroyed. People's farms have been destroyed. People's fish ponds have been destroyed. People's animal husbandry has been destroyed. People's businesses have been destroyed. So the people have no livelihoods as we speak. They fled for dear life. Their incomes, the latest information is that the incomes have increased to 20 because this morning the people of Volukome had to be relocated. So we now have 20 camps. The water levels continue to rise. And so to the extent that these are people who fled for dear life and they did not take anything, they couldn't salvage much or couldn't salvage anything at all, they really need to be supported to keep body and soul together. So these food items we are receiving will go a long way. But let me caution that the donations coming in should not let people think that we have had enough. Not at all. We are talking about over 10,000 people who have been displaced, according to NADMO figures. We on the ground know it is more, but we just want to use the NADMO figures so that we are not accused of exaggerating. But we really know that the situation is more dire than that. It's more than the 10,000 that has been put up by NADMO. And then it is also important to emphasize that the VRA is still spilling. So we are in for the long haul. The VRA is telling us that they do not know when they will stop spilling. And then coupled with the fact that the rains continue. The rains are still falling. Today it rained cats and dogs.
In fact, the Met Office, just to back the point, the Met Office tonight told us that we should expect the rains to still pour for the next month.
Exactly. So it does appear that we are in for the long haul. So we are going to really need these donations because it's going to take a lot of time for these people to be resettled. Remember that their homes have been totally demolished. In Mafa, the last count was about 215 homes that have been totally destroyed. And across the constituency, there are more than 700 homes. Look, there are entire villages, Evans, that have been wiped off. If you go to Siko, for example, then it's gone zero. The entire village is gone. If you go to a place like Kasamikofa, the entire village is gone. Volukome, Dofokome, Klamadaboy. These are villages that you can just describe them as ground zero, because a lot of the homes there were mud houses, and you know that what mud houses cannot withstand is water. Once the water levels rise and they are in water for a few hours, it just totally it just gets totally destroyed. So we really are in a dire situation, and I must also emphasize that there are a few more items we need that have not yet really come in as we will expect. For example, tents. We still need tents. NADMO promised us that they were going to get some more. They have not been able to, because we only have 3 tents so far in the 20 camps, and that's woefully inadequate. So people are cramped. There's massive congestion. So if we can get more tents, we'll appreciate it. If we can get more mosquito nets, we'll appreciate it, because so far the mosquito nets that have been distributed are very, very, very scanty indeed, and people have had to share these mosquito nets, sometimes 4 or 5 people. And ideally, it should be really 1 person, maximum 2 people in a net. So items like that, and then medications. Remember that there are lots of senior citizens who fled. Their medications have been washed away. They've given us the list. We are getting a few though, but we will still need more medications, and we can share the list we have compiled talking to these senior citizens with you. And I must also commend the Ghana Medical Association. They've sent us doctors, and we've been going around with the doctors, because the next fear we have, Evans, is that looming public health crisis.
Yeah. Because
the water is contaminated. The water is, as I speak to you, the water has risen and has covered cemeteries, covered mortuaries, sewage systems, public toilets, refuse dams. So the water is so contaminated, and this is a recipe for disaster. Diseases like typhoid, cholera, these are the kind of conditions that these diseases like. And so we are glad that we have doctors on the ground who are helping us to forestall
and I must say that
an outbreak.
I must say that the Ghana Medical Association has joined us. The acting general secretary will join us pretty shortly, but I want to bring in very quickly the Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Lecture, who's still with us. Doc, and I just want to quickly get an update from you. Is this still the case that so far we don't have a recorded fatality?
Yes, Evans, thank you very much. We still haven't had any recorded fatality.
Okay. And that obviously is the good news in the midst of this gloom and doom that we've been reporting over the years. And we must keep it like this. What's the briefing you've received from the Volta River Authority as far as the spilling of the dam is concerned going forward, considering that the Met Office is saying we can expect more rains?
Thank you. In fact, they are with us. The Volta River Authority officials are with us on the ground, and they are always in touch with colleagues all over the country, especially in the dam sites. And they always brief us. Our expectation was that by the end of next week, they were expecting that the inflows to the reservoir would start reducing, and then they would also have to cut down on the volume of water that is spilled.
Yeah,
that is our expectation by the end of today is Monday. Today is Tuesday. We are expecting that by the end of the week. That was our expectation, where we had a press conference on yesterday or 3 days ago, and that is our hope, because as of now, the water level keeps fluctuating. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, and sometimes I receive reports that certain places that were not flooded, they began seeing water coming around, and we immediately mobilized the disaster relief teams to move to the sites to respond to the needs of the people. So I would say that it's quite stable. The situation is stable, but we are expecting it to be better. I mean, because the water must start receding. It was shocking that the road that was being used to ferry people to the safe havens, within 3 days, after 3 days, we had to use a boat to get to those places. And when you are in the air, you see artificial islands, but these are actually roads that have been covered by water. So we have a situation on our hand, but the assurance I can give is that the Regional Disaster Management Committee, the various district disaster management committees are working as teams, and we have the Emergency Operations Center established at Bato in the North Town District Assembly buildings, and which is responding to the distress calls from the people and from the various communities.
But there's something I need to ask you, also because people are watching this, and this is also a medium where we can get information down to the people who need it the most also. Because we're expecting the VRA to continue spilling, and also the Met Office is telling us we can expect more rains, for those who are still possibly in low-lying areas who would need further evacuation, what's the plan so that the devastation that we've already seen is not worsened when more water comes down because VRA needs to spill? What's the plan to deal with that? Just look at your screens there. The water is actually at the roof level. And so this is really unprecedented for many, many people in that area. And this possibly, if not handled with care, with the water that we're expecting the VRA to spill in the next few weeks with the rains, could affect more people. Mr. Letcher, so what's the plan there so that more people are not caught up in the mix of the further water that we can expect to be spilled?
Thank you, Evans. We have the Ghana Armed Forces with us on the ground, the Navy, the Marine Police, and then we also have officials of VRA supporting us to monitor the water levels in the various communities. So what happens is that sometimes you go to a community, people are willing to evacuate. They are not willing to evacuate. We haven't forced anybody, but what we do is that we keep watch. We have people in the communities together with the unit committee members and assemblymen and the officials of the Ghana Armed Forces who are there with the boats ready to evacuate. And sometimes at midnight we are evacuating. So the education has gone down. People are aware that the situation is not safe. Where they are is not safe, and continuously people are being evacuated. So we have people on the ground with the zonal coordinators of NADMO, together with the local communities, the chiefs, and the opinion leaders in the various communities. They are supporting us so that anytime we realize that a particular community is in danger, we quickly move in to evacuate them. That is why, fortunately, fortunately, we haven't had anybody getting drowned. And we also have a challenge of power, but that is also understood because the transmission station is water is flooded. In addition to that, too, electricity and water too is not very safe for the people. So a lot of checks and balances, a lot of interventions are going on at the same time, and that is why we have the Emergency Operations Center where everything is coordinated, so that we have engineers there who are advising us, the Armed Forces, the Navy, At the press conference yesterday in Mepe, the Navy officers were there to brief.
And they told that they've rescued some 8,000 people all across the Volta.
That's right. That's right. And these interventions are going on 24/7. And I must also commend the health authorities, the Ghana Health Service officers, because they are key members of the emergency, the disaster management committees. Health, education are key members, together with the security agencies and other stakeholders. We have these mobile clinics at all the safe havens, and yesterday the president visited one of them at Mepe, and the doctors are committed, the nurses are there attending to the people, and I hear there are some skin conditions which is not unexpected, but we worried because most of the public latrines they have been flooded, and for that matter, any surface water you see there or well water is heavily contaminated. So we must make sure that the people have a good drinking water, they have clean water to drink, so that they don't have to.
You're right. And talking about the health intervention, Dr. Richard Salome, who is the acting general secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, is joining us. Dr. Salome, thanks for your time on PM Express. Hello, Dr. Salome. Hello, Dr. Salome. If you may unmute for me. And I know that it's important to hear the Ghana Medical Association, because one of the things they've done is to dispatch doctors into the affected communities to assist with the health aspect of this emergency relief coordination plan, which is being implemented there. Dr. Salome, can you hear me? Okay. Yes, he can hear me. We'll try and fix that. We'll fix that. But I want to go back to Dr. Chibolecha.
Hello, Evans. Can you hear me, please?
Hi, Dr. Salome. I can hear you, yes. I know you've had your men on the ground, doctors who are volunteering, helping people there. And today was the first day when they went in. I want to get a sense. What are you seeing on the ground from the health point of view?
Thank you for the opportunity, Evans. Our members have been on the ground from the early days. The only thing is that now we have mobilized more people to join them.
Okay.
The team is being led by the Volta divisional chairperson, and we have collaborated with the nurses as well as a clinical psychologist from 37 Military Hospital who has also volunteered to join the team. And they are on the ground as we speak. Today, they visited some of the mobile centers. Some of the things that we are seeing currently are the fact that a lot of the people are reporting with some malaria and then respiratory conditions, especially because of the crowding in and the centers. And then a few people are beginning to show signs of waterborne diseases. So that's the main assessment as it stands at the moment. But we are worried about the fact that there is still that big risk of waterborne diseases being blown out of proportion, especially since there are challenges with sanitary facilities in some of these places. You have about almost 1,000 people lodged in a school compound, and with very few toilets that was meant for just the few students in the facility. And this is becoming a big challenge for us.
This is really grim listening to what you've just been describing there. And how many men in all have you deployed? Oh, goodness me, I may have lost him there again. It's good to get a picture there. Dr. Chibolecha, you just listened to the Dr. Salome of the Ghana Medical Association. What he describes appears to me to be the beginning of a possible outbreak there. Are you adequately equipped for that eventuality if indeed it happens?
First of all, Evans, he said that prevention is better than cure. So we have to make sure that the people have adequate, safe water to use. That is important. And as I said, we have the health sector very well represented on all our committees, the district directors of health, the regional health directorate, are supporting us and we have disease control officers who are on the ground to advise us on what to do. So, but immediately, apart from the mobile clinics, the regional health director gave a report to us that they've established an isolation center at the Bato Kali Hospital, and they were planning us at yesterday to establish one at Sogakope District Hospital, another one at the at Adidome Hospital. So the Ghana Health Service is with us, and they are very much actively involved in what we're doing, and we are hoping that whenever there is any outbreak, like the GMA General Secretary is saying, the health staff, together with assemblies and all of us, the Regional Public Health Emergency Committee, which I also chair, in addition to the Regional Disaster Management Committee, we'll put ourselves together and make sure that any outbreak is appropriately contained.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. I mean, we're also beginning to learn few more lessons from what has happened. And at the very early stages, when the VRA began spilling, they actually started doing sensitization. In fact, the deputy chief executive was in the communities talking to them about what was about to happen. And he said something very interesting when he met the Awomefia in Anglo, that the controlled spilling was well within manageable levels. Knowing what you now know, would you say we underestimated what was happening?
Evans, in actual fact, we actually embarked on some simulation exercises as far back as May 2023. And this very community, MEPE, which is the hardest hit, was involved. But when the spilling began on 15th of September, we actually didn't have much problem. In fact, I was in the area. I only saw a few fish cages being carried along the water from some fish farms along the Volta. But within a week, when VRA also realized that the inflows to the reservoir was increasing, and they had to protect the integrity of the dam, they informed us that they were going to up the volume of spillage. And it was when the volume was upped, they call it stage 1, stage 2. When it moved to stage 2, in order to protect the integrity of the dam, that we started having these problems of flooding. And it was so progressive, as I told you. There was a particular road that was being used, and it turned out to, after 3 days, we had to use boats on that same road with almost the roofs of the buildings covered. So it was progressive, and it was, I will confess that it was far more than we expected. So we have to put our act together and start working on it to control the situation. As of now, we're doing disaster management. We want to preserve lives. That is why the health aspect is also very important. Honorable Okujeto Ablokra talked about people coming to support us. We are grateful. The health of the people is important. We can save lives from flood, from drowning, and then they succumb to communicable diseases. So we are very much careful about the health, the dangers of an outbreak, and we are happy that the disease control people at the district health committees at the regional level are supporting us to detect any outbreak, and the doctors are welcome. We are happy they are here, so that if there's anything, they can also alert us as early as possible.
Yeah.
So,
And I still have Mr. Okujeto Ablakwa with me. Mr. Ablakwa, as we speak tonight, you want a state of emergency declared in the affected areas. How much of a difference will that make?
We see rapid mobilization of resources. we will see everybody on high alert, and we will receive the much needed support. The regional minister will confirm to you that the support coming in has been quite slow. We're still waiting on NADMO to provide a number of urgently needed items. NADMO would also tell you that they are under-resourced. If we do declare a state of emergency, it will come with adequate resources. And the added advantage is that our international partners will then come in and assist us. Because we all know the state of this economy, we all know that liquidity is a challenge. But if a state of emergency is declared, added to the renewed national effort and mobilization of resources, we are also going to get the much needed international support, because that's what a lot of them are waiting for. Once the national emergency is declared, it triggers a lot of foreign assistance. So it's really becoming late. The government should declare a state of emergency. What it will entail is that we would have to convene Parliament very quickly, and Parliament will certainly endorse this decision, and then we can get the inflows that we need to improve the lot of our people. Because as the regional minister has said, you don't want to save people from drowning, and then because they are kept in these makeshift shelters, they do not have the needed support systems, then they succumb to either diseases or hunger or congestion or suffocation and so on and so forth. So it is important that this national emergency is declared. It is also important that government steps up efforts, and then I must continue to appeal to compassionate Ghanaians, to philanthropists, to corporate Ghana, that we still need support. Let me commend the groups who have called us today, that they will be coming here tomorrow. We are looking forward to receiving them. And we really will need support, because there's no end in sight. This clearly is going to continue even till the end of the year, or probably entering into next year. And remember that even when the spilling stops, a lot of these people have their homes destroyed. So we need to have a discussion about resettlement. We need to have a discussion about compensation. And I insist that the VRA have questions to answer when the House resumes. We will file a motion for a probe. We don't think that they conducted themselves properly in this matter. And we insist that they have to announce plans for full compensation of the victims. They cannot be living in these camps for the rest of their life. They cannot lose their farms for the rest of their life. They cannot lose their fish ponds, lose their businesses. So it's important to stress that there are layers and there are phases. Now we are all concerned about the urgent relief that they need to survive in the camps, but it's just a temporal measure. We must begin to look at their resettlement. We must begin to look at full compensation, and that we will not compromise on those key indicators.
And there are two things you say that I want to emphasize. One of the things you said, as far as Parliament is concerned and the declaration of the state of emergency, Parliament can have a say in getting that done and getting the state to deploy all the resources that you need for your people. And you're going to make sure that is something that Parliament takes up?
Absolutely. We've already discussed it, and we are in the process of triggering a parliamentary action in that regard. We believe that this is a national disaster that we should all, be united and confront as a people. It shouldn't be we versus them, or this party and that party, and that's why we are urging the government to just declare state of emergency, and let's get that additional support both within and without. But if government delays, then we will be compelled to see what we can trigger from our side in Parliament.
Yeah, and Dr. Archibald Letcher, that is a call that you've heard before. When we spoke at 5:30, you were expecting that your colleagues in the Interministerial Committee meeting will be considering all the options. Can you confirm tonight that the state of emergency is one that the Interministerial Committee's meeting tonight had considered?
No, Evans, as I said earlier, I am on the field and I wasn't able to attend the meeting, but at the end of the meeting, I'll get to know exactly what has been discussed, what decisions have been taken, because I know the president has given instructions that a budget should be presented for support, but I don't know what is being discussed tonight because I'm not sitting in that meeting. Tomorrow, we are also expecting His Excellency the Vice President to visit the disaster areas, and I believe that he would come and also see. The President was there yesterday, and I believe that he's also coming with some personal support to the victims. But as has been said, people are calling me. People call me, what can they do? Somebody called me this morning suggesting about housing, some temporary housing for the people. Somebody called. People call that they want to do donations. What should they do? We're also in Accra today for some embassies asking for some support. And ambassador who supported us who was flooded recently, we went to him, and they are also planning to come and support. So we are appealing to all others to come and support us so that we can make our brothers and sisters as comfortable as we can whilst they go through these difficult times.
Okay, and just for a short clarity on this, you are not opposed to a state of emergency in the areas affected in your region?
No, we have an emergency, and whatever we can do to bring the emergency under control as early as possible is what we must all do. So I believe that we need an urgent solution to what we are faced with, and I think that whatever is needed, whether from the executive or from the parliament or anything that, for me as the minister in charge of the region, all I want is that we should find a solution to this great problem confronting us.
Yeah, and
whatever that can be achieved is we don't have any objection.
Okay, and then a quick word to Dr. Salome. We lost you earlier. I just have a minute to go. You've talked about what you're seeing, and it appears to me what you're seeing suggests that we possibly are at the beginning of some form of an outbreak there. What do you need to ensure that we don't have an epidemic on our hands? Hello, Dr. Salome? Goodness me. Well, we just ran out of time on this. I can't hear him, unfortunately.
Can you hear me, please?
I can, yes. I mean, from what you've seen,
so,
very briefly, what do you need to avert an epidemic?
So the thing to note is that the waterborne diseases are not only risking the places where the disaster has occurred. Downstream communities are also at risk because all these waters are going to be swept downwards. And people who are not even related to the disaster are also supposed to be looked at closely. The key thing is to make sure sanitary facilities are available and also potable water is available for people to use. Currently, the shelters where people are, there's a lot of crowding. Okay. And because of that, it's difficult for people to queue and use some of these facilities. And also water, because there's a problem with the water supply currently. And so water is being brought in, but sometimes not at the rates where the people need them.
Okay.
The other bit is to educate the people to use hand washing and then a lot of soap to wash their hands and make sure these things are available. A lot of hand washing points, Veronica buckets will be provided so that people can quickly wash their hands.
And that is absolutely critical. Going back to the COVID protocols that we had because of the possibility of an outbreak of cholera and others. Thank you very much. Listen, there's more to talk about this, and I want to urge you, as you've seen the GMA helping, they need volunteers. The minister needs volunteers. Samokudu Tablakwa need volunteers. Please, if you can, go in there and assist. And this is something we're keeping an eye on, even as the Vice President gets there tomorrow, watching this closely and speaking about this more to get the help that they need. Enjoy the rest of the evening.